everyone, Dan here, and this is the second part of my video series into the Adobe SDK version 5. In the first section of this video series, I covered the implementation of the SDK using Adobe Launch and embedding the code within your application. We also configured a deep link. In this second section, I want to show how we would take that deep link and use it in the target interface to pair our application and build a pretty simple A/B test, and then move on to something slightly more complicated and build some experience targeting activities that use lifecycle events to create an audience. So if I jump across to the target interface, we will go in and click Create Activity, select A/B Test, click Mobile App. By default, the Visual Experience Composer will be selected. Click Next. We now have to select our app. I have two paired already, but for the purpose of this demo, we will pair a new app. Now, we need to enter our deep link here that we've configured from the previous video. If you're a developer, you're going to understand exactly where this deep link comes from. If you're a marketer, your developer will supply this for you. You don't really need to know how it works. So if we jump back to our app and we go back into the main Luma file, into info, and go to URL types, we configure the deep link by taking the URL schemes, paste that in, :/, and then paste our bundle identifier, and that's how we create our deep link. The deep link is surfaced in a few ways. You can email it to yourself, you can scan a QR code, or you can do what I'm going to do in this demo and just simply copy it. To pair our application with target, it is a simple case of just going back over to our application, closing it, opening up a web browser, pasting in our deep link, and clicking enter. This will then ask us if we want to open the Luma app, which we do. And then what we will see here is the target interface should, once the app is loaded, mimic our application. And there we go. So what we can see here is that our current view is the home view. This home view is something we set up in the first video from the home.swift file. You can see it here. This is the only view that is set up manually in the entire application. We use this target VEC.setTargetView function to set the home view. So this is the view that is set when the app initially launches. Every view other than this one is set automatically by target. So as we navigate around the application, the lifecycle events are passed into target and it will automatically create the views. So to demonstrate this, if I start to navigate around, now we can't navigate in the target interface as we would do with normal web tests that we build. The way we navigate is to actually navigate in our virtual app here. So if I move on to one of the info pages, we see our current view changes to Auto Luma Product Info. Anything with this auto prefix means that it's been automatically created by target for us. If we move back, we see our manually set home view, and again, any other page will have the auto prefix. So now moving on to creating an experience, there's obviously quite a vast array of things you could do here, from changing colors, positions, etc. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to swap out a couple of images. So I'm going to take some images that I've already got and just swap them into our experience. excuse the aspect ratio here. And then change the color of this text to white so we can see it more clearly. And now that is our experience B complete. I move through the target workflow, make 100% of the traffic go to experience B, so we can definitely see our experience. Set up our reporting source, in this case we'll just use target, and engagement will be our goal. Give the activity a name. And then save. So you'll see that the changes we made were mimicked in our application, but as soon as we save, they then are removed from the app. So if we then activate this experience, we will close our app. And rebuild. One thing to note is that this would work exactly the same way if you were using a real app on a real mobile device that was actually live on the App Store. You wouldn't have to obviously keep rebuilding the application like we're doing here. Now, we have rebuilt our application and we can see that our experience is being served exactly like we just seen from the target VEC. So hopefully now it becomes a bit clearer. Once the implementation, the one-off implementation of setting up the target VEC within your mobile app is done, to create simple A/B tests is really quick at this point. The last thing I want to cover is experience targeting and creating audiences based on lifecycle events that are emitted from your mobile application. So what we can see here in the debugger is that there is a lot of things that are passed into target when we call an mbox or we call a test. So we can see that we have the marketing cloud visitor ID, we have the location hint, we have kind of all the analytics logging, but more importantly we get all of the context. So we get screen height, screen width, color depth, device name, device type, and we get things like the view, we get the operating system, we get the carrier name if it had one, the resolution, hour of the day. But the one I want to look at here is this a.launches. So app.launches is a lifecycle event that is emitted every time an application or the application is launched, and that will obviously increment 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as many times as you open the app. So I want to use this to create a couple of audiences so we can then target content to those audiences. So again, if I just jump back into the target interface, I'm going to go into audiences, and I'm going to create two audiences. I'm going to create an audience that is first app load, and we will use the rule of custom for this, and as we just seen in our application, it's a.launches we want to use, and we will say a.launches is less than 2. So anything less than 2, the visitor would be classed as being in the audience of first app launch. Save this. I will then just duplicate it to save time, and we'll call this app launch more than 1. So this time it'll be a.launches is greater than or equal to 2. We'll save this. And now I'm going to create a new activity. This time it will be experience targeting. We'll select mobile app again. Visual by default. This time we can select our application from the drop-down list. Now it's worth noting that once your emulator is closed, you will need to keep repairing your device, which we will do now. If you're using a real device to do this, the device will remain paired forever, and it'll just be a case of relaunching the app and the relevant device will light up from the list here. But because we're using the emulator, we need to repair. So we'll go back to copying our deep link so we can pair our device. Paste the deep link and open the app again. And now we get the app in the tag interface. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to create 2 different experiences. I'm going to create one for our first app launches, and I'm going to create a new one for app launches that are more than 1. So basically there'll be an experience that is served to the user when they first launch the app, and then a different experience should be served every time they launch the app after that. So I'm going to go into one of the info pages. Again, I navigate from the mobile application. I have some more images here which I'm going to use. So take this picture of a cat and we'll set it as the background. And then in first uploads, we'll take our picture of a dog. Obviously, the tests you guys build should have more business relevance than just putting a nice picture of a dog or a cat. But for testing purposes, this will do. So first upload, we should get the dog. Subsequent uploads, we should get the picture of a cat. So again, advance through the workflow, move forward, set up our reporting source. Name the test. And save. Now this is saved, we'll see how changes are reverted back to what the app looks like without the test. We'll activate this experience targeting. Once this is live, we will close our app and rebuild. So what we see here is the test we built earlier, and as we close this and we generate a launch event, that will be passed into Target. Target should now say we've launched the application once. We get our picture of the dog, close the app, launch it again. Launches should now be 2, so it should fall into that second audience we've created of app launches more than 1. and now we get the picture of a cat. So this was just a very simple demonstration, but I hope it helps you see the type of things you can do in the VEC. It does not completely replace using mbox calls to the API as you previously did with the SDK version 4, but it does mean if you have simple experiences, tests, or personalization you want to set up, it can be done by a marketer once the one-time setup of implementing the target VEC extension from launch in your app is complete. The final thing I want to mention before concluding this video is just that you're not limited to the lifecycle events like I've used here. There are functions that would allow anything to be passed in to the mbox. So in this home.swift file, if I scroll down from lines 80 to 95, you can see that in the view did load function, there are actually custom mbox parameters and profile parameters being passed in. So if I just search in here, we can see all of the lifecycle events that are automatically passed in. But as we scroll a bit further down now, you can see that category ID furniture, which we get from this line here, is passing in a product, is passing in an order value. This could be used for anything. It could be cart value, so you could say, okay, if a user's current cart is more than £300, we want to serve those guys an offer that says they get free delivery. So you do that by setting up a variable in here that would be cart value, and then it's basically just a key value pair, so it would be cart value, and then you would pass in a variable that's been created in the app that would dynamically keep passing in the value of the cart as the user navigates around the application, and then you would target the experience exactly the same way as we did for our very simple dog and cat picture test earlier on. You would just literally create your audience, and you would just basically say, depending on what you name it, it would be something like mbox cart value, and you would say if that is more than 300, then create the audience, and then you could just serve any experience you wanted based off that. That concludes the video. I hope that makes the whole SDK v5 a little bit clearer. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for my next video.